to get started. So today, Monday Momentum, we're talking about finding balance without losing momentum, confidence and harmony. And so before we start, I just wanted to say welcome to our Monday Momentum. It is our weekly 20-minute power session that is supposed to help you start your week with clarity, with confidence, and then allow you to go out and take action. And we're going to be talking about something today, which I already alluded to, which is something that many high achievers struggle with, and it is balance. We will be trying to figure out how to find balance without losing momentum. And I know that if you're listening, or if you're listening, or if you're in the if you're watching this live, right? There's a time in your life that you've struggled, or you felt overwhelmed trying to juggle work, personal life, growth, all without burning out. And so that is something that we all struggle with. But I want to tell you something, right? Here's the truth. You don't have to choose between success and sanity. And you don't have to slow down to stay balanced. I think that is something that's a preconceived notion that we have, that you have to slow down or you have to crawl, and then that's what balance means. But it's not. What you need is harmony, and it's the ability to stay focused, to also stay driven and successful without sacrificing your well-being. And that is something that I want to talk about today. So this is how we're going to break it down today. Remember, short and sweet. We're going to talk about why balance doesn't really mean slowing down. Then we'll come up with a 3-step. I like to think about ways for you to remember how to do stuff. So I always come up with some sort of small framework for you to just remember. So this is a 3-step system that will help you maintain success and also think about self-care. And then I also want to touch a little bit on how to protect your peace while you're still trying to push forward, whether it's at home, your career, your personal life, business, whatever it is. So by the end of today, our short time together was short and sweet and powerful. I want you to know exactly how to stay productive without burning out. So let us go. And I know a lot of people, in trying to find balance or the lack of balance, they struggle with burnout. And so then you become unexcited about the things that you were once excited about, and life just passes you by. That is what I'm trying to avoid, because I know that a lot of you are looking to tap into that deep potential that you have inside of you and use that to fulfill your biggest dreams, your biggest life challenges, the things that you want to accomplish in this life. So let's go. We're going to talk about the myth of balance, right? Why it's not about slowing down. And I really want to clear up that misconception. Balance does not mean slow down. It doesn't mean you stop what you're doing. It doesn't mean doing less. It doesn't mean pulling back. It doesn't mean moving at a slower pace or crawling. That is all wrong, right? The truth is that balance is about managing your energy, not just managing your time. It's really about knowing, when do I push forward and when do I just pause for a second, right? It's also about making space for what really matters without really sacrificing momentum. That is what balance is. And so trying to navigate exactly what that means is success. That could really translate to you being very successful. I want you to think of a high achiever, or first of all, I actually want you to think of maybe a high performance athlete, right? Someone who does that for a living. They don't train at 100% intensity every single day, every single time. They train hard, but then they recover, and they train again, and they train again, and then they recover, and then they train hard, and that's how they keep going, and that's balance. So they're not at 100% or 1,000% intensity every time. They have a period of recovery, and then they do it again. That's what balance looks like in your life, right? Another example I can think of is maybe a high-level CEO, right? They don't work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They don't do that. They do delegate. They structure their time. And we've talked about this. I feel like 2 weeks ago, go back and listen to that. We talked about, how to deep work and how to really buy back your time. And so you can tell that high-level CEOs, right? Like I said, they don't work all the time, but they really know how to delegate. They know how to structure their time. They know how to prioritize what truly moves the needle. And that's that 20%. And all of this ties together, right? In trying to live your big, expansive life. It's trying to figure out what do I need to do to move the needle forward in the areas of my life, and that 20% of my life. So the bottom line is that balance is not doing less. It's about doing what really matters at the right time with the right energy. That is how you can really describe balance as you're thinking about balance in your life. It is not about doing, it's not about slowing down. But also, another way to think about balance is that less is more. So, doing less of the thing that you need to do will actually create more results. That is another way to look at balance. Um, Definitely comments, like if you have questions, concerns, comments, just toss it in the chat. I'll definitely be able to respond to that very soon. But so that's what that looks like. Now, when you start thinking that way, right, you're going to start shifting your mindset around it, and you'll start really fully understanding what balance really looks like. So I talked to you about the 3-step system that will help you stay balanced while really keeping that momentum, right? So just a second ago, we redefined what balance is. It's not about slowing down. It's about energy management. It's about pushing forward. It's about knowing when to push forward, when to pause, and it's about making space for what matters. That's what that looks like. And now I want to talk about this 3-step system, and it's very, very simple. But this is actually how to achieve balance. So we've talked about the mindset, the thinking about it, the understanding it. And now let's talk about how to take action. So I came up with the 3D rule. So I want you to think about delete, delegate, or do it now. I'll say that again. It's delete, delegate, or do it now. And you might feel overwhelmed because you're doing too much of the wrong things, right? So you're doing too much, but it's not the thing that is moving the needle forward, which we talked about, right, with the high-level CEO. But every task that you can think of, you can kind of look at it through the lens of the 3D rule. Do I need to delete it? If it doesn't move the needle, maybe you need to let it go. You also need to delegate it. So it's another way to do it. Like if someone else can do that, then pass it on. If this is something for someone else to do, then let go of it. And then you do it now. If that is essential, if that is a thing that needs to move the needle forward, then get it done efficiently, and get it done quickly. So remember, it's delete. If it needs to go, let it go. Delegate. Who else can be doing that thing? And then give it to that person, and then do it now. If it's that thing that is going to move the needle forward, if that's the 20% that you need to do to get 80% of the result, then you have to do it now. So I want you to think about, instead of saying, I have too much to do, I want you to ask yourself, does this really need to be done by me? Does this really need to be done right now? Or do I need to delete it? That's exactly how I want you to start thinking as you start taking action. And remember, all of this is to try to bring in balance in your life. So this week, I am asking you to do something. I want you to list all your tasks, which actually you should have done 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? But now, so you already have those tasks written out. Now I want you to apply the 3D rule to it. Do I need to delete it? Do I need to delegate it? Or do I need to do it now? And tell me one thing, maybe one thing that you're thinking about deleting, or one thing you're thinking about delegating in the chat. Just like rapid fire, toss it in the chat. But this is how you have to start thinking about every single task that you're doing. Because when you think about balance, right, you're trying to buy back your time, and you're trying to let go of the things that you don't need to do. And that's how you have to start thinking about it. So if something comes to mind at some point, just toss it in the chat. Now, another thing that I want us to do is I want you to create non-negotiable boundaries. So as you start thinking about, like, how do I regain balance in my life, right? Balance starts with protecting your time and protecting your energy. So I want you to set non-negotiables that you will not compromise on. And you might be asking, what are some of those non-negotiables? They differ between, like, my non-negotiables will definitely be different from yours. But some examples I can think of, it's like, maybe for me, 30 minutes of personal growth every morning. So that looks like, spending time to journal, spending time to reflect, reading a book. And all of those things are part of my 30-minute mornings, and just quiet time for me to, like, really go into deep gratitude and figure out, like, how did my week go? How did my day go? What am I grateful for? What am I pushing forward to do? For me, that's important. Figure out what that is, that looks like for you, your non-negotiable. And your non-negotiable could be really dedicated family time or self-care time. That is something that you don't want to negotiate on. Write it down. It could even be like, maybe health is something that's really important to you, because when you really regain control of your health, all the other areas of your life feel like they're in control, right? So maybe for you, it could be, I have to work out 3 times a week, or I have to walk maybe 30 minutes every day, and just to get some sunlight and vitamin D. Or it could even also be like dedicated time for deep work, or like dream time or strategy for your business or for your career or for your job. Those are some examples of your non-negotiables. So figure out what that looks like for you. I want to ask you again, like, you're here, you're showing up, you're listening to this, right? What is one boundary that you're setting this week? Again, drop it in the chat, or go ahead and just write it down. But this is for you. This is important to how you're going to take control of your life. And then third step I want us to think about, right, is the power of, how can I explain? The power of like micro rest and recovery. So sometimes when we think about balance, right, or a misconception of balance is that like I have to stop everything that I'm doing, and I just have to maybe go and, like a 3-week vacation, or, like I just need to spend a day or two just recouping. But sometimes that doesn't work with your lifestyle, with your schedule, with your family. So you don't necessarily need a week-long vacation to recharge. Micro rest really just looks like staying energized and productive while keeping you, while keeping you that focus. So it's like taking just a little bit of time in order to re-energize you, re-engage you, refocus you. So micro rest could look like a 5-minute break after like a deep work session. So, and for me, it really looks like more like 15 minutes for me, because I know that that's what I need to recharge after like a session of deep work. Let's say an hour of work where, my phone is tossed away somewhere. I'm really focused on doing that thing. I probably need a little bit, like 15 minutes to recover. And then sometimes that could look like a 10-minute like movement break, right? So like after doing something, you could walk, you could stretch, you could do jumping jacks, you could, whatever it is, to just kind of balance you. And then you could also even think about, like digital detox. So that's like an hour without your screen, where you pick up a book and read, and just to like declutter and clear your mind. Those are some examples of what micro rest could look like that doesn't involve like a 2-week vacation. And that, I think, is just as important or just as crucial in your balance strategy. So tell me one thing that you're doing this week. Tell me one thing that you're committing to. I heard my boundary this week will be to prioritize my own work before I help out others, whether it be family or friends. That's right. So like you're putting yourself and your interests first, and that is okay. And I want to say this, right? So we've talked about micro rest. We've talked about non-negotiable boundaries. We've talked about, delete. We've talked about delegate. We've talked about do it now. I also want to say this. There might be people here on this live, or who are listening, right? And they're thinking, I really don't have balance in my life right now. And the scale is significantly tipping on one side. I just want to give you some grace, right? Because there are seasons in your life that it feels like you have to go, go, go. And maybe you're not doing balance as well. And I really do want to give you some grace and say that is okay. As long as you know that like you have to come back and recenter and refocus yourself and figure out how you can start including balance in that, even in that season that seems bad. Because the truth is, this is a long-term game, right? Like your life, your relationship, your business, your career, your job. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So even if you have seasons in your life where you like are like, like you're going all in, you're going like everything that you're giving, everything that you can give is going into that thing. Just remember that shouldn't be for prolonged seasons, because that is what will lead to burnout. And that is what will lead to, not reaching your full potential, because you're just going all in that one thing for that season. So I hope that was clear, right? if you're doing that for a short period of time, that's okay. But you really have to start thinking about really how to bring in balance into your life, because whatever you're doing, you have to think about it as a long-term strategy, long-term play, long-term gain. So that is kind of some of the tips, some of the ideas that you have to be thinking about as you start bringing balance into your life. So as always, I'm all about action, and I'm all about taking action, because if you listen, if you keep listening, if you keep consuming and you don't do something about it, then you're not growing, right? So let's put some of this into action. And I've already told you guys what to do, so I'm just going to kind of bring it back to the forefront of your memory. I want you to think about how you can apply the 3D rule to your life today. So think about what you need to delete, what you need to delegate, and what you need to do. So that I want you to think about that. And then I also want you to set up one non-negotiable boundary, and I want you to protect it. So like we talked about this again, this is all building on each other. We talked about that sometimes it is okay to say no. And this is an example where you are putting, like your work, your life, your family, your relationship, your business, you're putting all of that first. And so you might need to create some non-negotiable boundaries, and you need to protect that at all costs. And then I want you to commit to one micro rest, whether it's a 5 minutes of just centering after working hard, or a 10-minute walk, or something else that you could definitely do, or just turn off your phone for a little bit, pick up a book. But what are those things that you can do, that you can commit to micro rest? Remember, you are not trying to do everything. You're just picking one thing. And as usual, if you do it, tag me in the community, tag me in the DMs. The truth is, I just want to celebrate your wins, right? Because when you win, I win. When I win, you win. And we can win together, and we can celebrate together. So as we wrap up, because I want to make sure that I respect your time during your lunch break. But this is the final thought I want you to take away, right? And I said it before, I'll say it again. Balance, it's not about slowing down. It's not about pressing stop. It's about moving smarter. So it's about figuring out the areas in your life that you need to almost restructure. That's what it's about. So the secret to success, right, is not working nonstop. It's knowing when to push and when to pause. And when you start figuring out the things in your life that maybe you need to let go of, the things you need to delegate, the things you need to do, if you need to figure out the non-negotiables in your life, that those things you say yes to no matter what, and that means you're saying no to some other things, which is okay. And then figure out how you can include micro rest. So it's about knowing when to push and when to pause, and when to stop and when to reflect. So that is what I have for you today. Next week, we will be talking about starting a new habit, and how to build habits that really stick. That's what we're going to be talking about next week. So if you have ever struggled with staying consistent, then come here next Monday where we can talk about this and we can figure it out together. So I just want to say thank you for your time. I'm going to run into the chat and answer some questions, or just kind of read some of the things that people are saying their non-negotiables are. And then we'll just hang out for a little bit. Non-negotiables are rest and family time. That's awesome. Micro rest sounds like a power nap to me, and that's okay. It could be a 5-minute, a 10-minute power nap to get you restarted. That's absolutely what it could be. And you are right. It is a marathon. This life that we're living is a marathon and not a sprint. So do it well, do it for the long term, and stay consistent. You will see results. You will see success. You will see growth. All the things that you want will come when you think about life from that perspective. You're very welcome. Can't wait for next Monday. Yes, we're talking about building habits that stick. And I think that's very important, because, and if you notice, all of this is they all tie into each other, right? Staying consistent, saying no, buying back your time, figuring out deep work. Now we're talking about balance, and we'll be talking about habits. So they all build on each other, and it's doing the things that help you grow as you're thinking about building that expansive life. So yes. Thank you, everyone. Love that everything is building on each other. Very helpful. That's exactly what I just went through. So that's why this is important. Okay. If there are no more questions, I will let everyone go back to their day. And we are 1 minute past time, so we did really good today. So everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Oh, wait a second. Pandora's typing. I see one more person typing, so I'll wait a second. You're very welcome. Have a wonderful rest of your day.